For the last 2 weeks, John's been doing this fantabulous series called Jesus is the Hero, and I'm going to wrap it up like he said, just kind of focusing on Jesus and him being the hero. It's kind of self-explanatory. In a little bit, we'll be having a little bit of story time, take you back to pre-kindergarten, pre-K. Who went to pre-K? Anybody go to pre-K? I went to pre-K. I was for 4 years. Okay. I was going to make a joke about it because I thought he was kidding, but no, it's cool, man. I went to high school for 4 years. I'm sorry. Hey, has anybody seen the movie Tommy Boy? When he's like, how long do you go to college? He was like 7 years. It's like 7 years. He goes, yeah, a lot of people go to college for 7 years. They're like, yeah, it's called a doctor. He's like, yeah. Hey, it's funny, okay? He only had an associate's degree. Alrighty, so today I'm going to speak about Joshua. Does anybody know who Joshua is? If you don't, that's fine. I'm going to teach you. I'm going to teach you on him. I'm going to learn you about him. Joshua's in the Old Testament, and he came right after Moses. You guys remember 2 weeks ago when John spoke about Moses? All right, so Joseph, mixing them together. See what I did there? He should be a character. So Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, and he walked around the desert with them for a long, long time, 40 years, and then he died. So the very next day, after Moses died, he's gone, we have Joshua. So Joshua's sitting there. He was Moses' second-hand man, and now he's sitting here with a lot. I don't even remember the exact amount. I'm going to say, let's just say 400,000 Israelites, 12 tribes. Yep, you're right. Let's just say 4,000 men, women, and children, all just in the desert, and God goes, you're in charge, bud. Okay. I could imagine that was a time where he was like, God, why? And that is actually, if anybody's taking notes, if anybody's paying attention, thank you. But that is going to be the title of my message is God, why? And I could imagine as Joshua's sitting there in the middle of the desert, I'm imagining he's on this pretty sweet, big sand dune. I don't know why, but he's probably just sitting there, and then he's looking down at all his people, and now Moses is gone. He said, God, why am I the one that has to be in charge of all of these people? He was forced into the leadership of Israel just simply because he was the one that was most equipped for it. And there's one Bible verse that I want to share with you guys out of the grown-up Bible, if you will, before we get into our children's Bible, and that is Joshua 1:9. Pretty fitting, right? Now, what that says is, in Joshua 1:9, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And if I was Joshua, that is exactly what I wanted to hear. Because I didn't know what I was doing, but it was nice to know that God was with me wherever I went. I want to tell you guys a little bit of a story, not a little bit of a story, a whole story, about a little boy. This boy was 8 years old, and he lived right around here, lived in Liverpool. And his dad was in the military. I'm sorry if I get a little bit kind of going about this. This story kind of touches me a little bit. His dad was in the military, and he came home for his son's birthday, and he gave him anybody have an RC car? RC, like boat, anything like that, a remote-controlled? He gave him a remote-controlled airplane, and this was a gas-powered airplane. So this little boy takes his plane out. It was a couple days before his birthday, actually, and he's flying this airplane, and the plane explodes in his face. No lie. Very hot alcohol fire. If anybody knows, flame burns in different colors. Normal campfire is kind of the coldest. It's orange. This flame was an invisible alcohol fire flame, and it completely consumed his face, went down his chest, his arms, his legs, his back. Third-degree burns on 45% of his body. This is an 8-year-old boy. Has anybody been seriously injured, broken a bone, gotten a burn by putting on a stove? I couldn't imagine this. This is unimaginable for me, unfathomable. This little boy went and he spent months and months in the hospital, skin grafting. Never the same. He got picked on by all his friends. His chin grew down to his neck, the skin, as it healed, so he walked around looking at the ground for a long, long time. And I could only imagine that this boy at 8 years old could just stand there and say, God, why? Why did this happen to me? I want to share with you guys that little boy is my father. That little boy went through elementary school and middle school and high school getting picked on and ridiculed for the way that he looked, and he couldn't do anything about it. And I think that my dad is an amazing man. And that happened to him not because God wanted to punish him, not because God wanted to say, see, I rule over you so I can do anything, because our God is not a harsh God. Our God is a very loving God. This was a time where God used that for something that we can't understand, that our plan may not line up with his exactly, but it doesn't matter. And that was where this verse came in. Be strong and courageous. Don't worry. I'm here. Do not be terrified. You're laying in a hospital with no skin on half of your body, in pain, not even 10 years old. Don't worry, I have a plan for you. Guys, I can tell you that happened for a reason. My dad is one of the strongest, most planted, and a very godly man. And sometimes I question that because I'm his son and I'm supposed to be a little pain in his butt. And I wish he was here right now, and he doesn't know I'm talking about him, but he would be in tears. And I'll tell you what, he's the most loving and the best father I could have ever have. And I'm speaking from a son's perspective, that is why this happened to him, so that he could grow me and my sisters in a way that would just say, be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified, for I am with you. And I promise, I'm sorry, this isn't all going to be sad. It's not going to be about people burning and dying. It sucks. I'm sorry. But that could be a moment where my grandparents, my aunt, my dad, anybody that knew them would just say, God, why? They're a God-fearing family. And he said, trust me, I have a plan. I wouldn't do this for no reason. So I want to focus in on Joshua again. And this whole series is about Jesus is the hero. So I want to share a few similarities that Joshua and Jesus have, actually, that just they have parallels. So the first one, they're both commanders of armies. Joshua was the commander of the Israelite army. He led them in, and they just busted dudes. They just, one city, done. Next city, done. They were just a wandering, sure, whatever you just said. I agree. The Hulk, they were a walking Hulk force. That's awesome. Nothing could stand in their way. They had God by their side, so it was amazing. Second thing, they had complete commitment to God. You guys may be thinking, well, duh, Jesus is God. He had complete commitment to himself. I understand that. But he literally died for us. He was God. He could have at any point been like, not feeling it. Not going to die. I'm going to figure out another way. He had complete commitment to come down and die for us so that we could have eternal life in him. Joshua's complete commitment. As soon as he met Moses, and Moses kind of told him this plan, he's like, all right, I feel it. We can do it. Moses died, and Joshua's in control. He goes, I didn't sign up for this. You didn't see Joshua leaving. He was completely committed to the work of the Lord. The third parallel, they both walked by faith, not by sight. Jesus died on a cross, died and rose again. Probably didn't make much sense. God, you want me to die so other people can live? What? As we'll talk about later, Joshua circled Jericho and brought this city down. It was a very, very strong city, which probably didn't make sense in a military aspect. Jesus, what do you want me to do? Just go walk around, bud. It'll be fine. Take a stroll. Okay? Fourth parallel. This one was the one that was really, really cool. Joshua, that name can be derived from the Hebrew language. And then Jesus, that name is derived from the Greek language. They both have the exact same meaning. They both mean Yahweh is salvation. Yahweh is a Christ, is the Messiah, is the Son of God, which is what Jesus was. And that was really cool to just think that they both meant the same exact thing. So that was just really quick, just to kind of show you that it's all about Jesus. As we saw a couple weeks ago, pieces of Moses were exactly what kind of constituted to what Christ was. Pieces of Joseph, which we went over last week, was part of Jesus. And now we have some parts of Joshua, his character, his name, his occupation, stuff like that all constituted to be like, hey, God was like, as he's writing this Old Testament, do you get the hint yet? I'm forming like this one super awesome dude, and his name is Jesus, and he's your Savior. So yeah, Jesus Christ is the main point. All three of those guys point towards him. So now, who's ready for some story time? I'm ready. I'm ready for some story time. So here's the children's storybook Bible about Joshua. He's the warrior leader. And excuse me if I have to squint at this. My eyes aren't the best. Someone needs glasses. That's right. All right, so it goes, after Joseph, on the second word, and I already messed up. After Moses died, God gave his people a new leader. His name was Joshua, which means the Lord saves, or Yahweh is salvation. Yahweh is Lord, salvation is being saved. Do you mind if I sit down? Thanks. Joshua was going to lead God's people into a special land God had promised to give them. By this time, God's people had been wandering around in the baking desert for 40 years. So you can imagine how sick they were of sand and anything yellow and tense and walking and being hot and having no water and tons of other things. And how happy they were to reach the edge of the desert and to see their beautiful new home right there in front of them, all cool and green and lovely. There was only one problem: Jericho. Dum, dum, dum. Jericho was a city, but it wasn't just any old city. It was a fortress, and it stopped anyone from getting into the land. The people looked at Jericho, at the big, giant, skewy walls all around it, at the tall, towering ramparts, at the heavy iron gates being bolted shut, at each other. What would they do? No one knew. Yeah, it's a little poem. But God knew, and God told Joshua what to do, but Joshua must have looked surprised because it was a very odd battle plan indeed, as we'll soon find out. Then God made his people a promise. I will always be with you, and I will never, ever, 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 never, ever, ever leave you. If you do what I say, your lives in the new land will be happy, and everything will be well. So Joshua gathered his army together. They had their swords and spears and shields. They were ready to fight. They were ready to go bust some caps. That was improv. That's not in here. But the plan wasn't about fighting. It was about trusting and doing what God said. Hello. Joshua's army went marching around the city. Day after day after day. They're too scared to fight, the people of Jericho said. But they were wrong. God's people weren't scared. They were waiting for God to tell them what to do next. On the seventh day, God told his people to march around the city, not once, not twice, but 7 times. Then God told everyone to make as much noise as they could. Parentheses. Has anyone ever told you to make as much noise as you possibly can? Well, imagine that noise. Add 39,999 other people making that noise too. You get the idea. Ear splitting. End of parentheses. And, as it turned out, stone splitting too. Haha. Because the huge, strong walls of Jericho just crumbled to the ground as if they were made of sand. Jericho vanished in a great cloud of dust. All right. That's where I'm going to stop. Did you guys enjoy it? I enjoyed it. I feel it should get like I don't know, what do authors get? Pulitzer Prizes or something? It deserves one. Just because I'm immature and I like to do these kind of things, I've made you guys yell and scream at me before, and this is kind of fitting because this is exactly what they did. Who wants to yell? Who doesn't want to yell? You're going to yell anyways. All right. So please, if you will, humor me. Do this. It's in the Bible. Yell and scream. I'm going to count to 3. Try to knock down the walls of this church. Please don't, but just yell as loud as you can. You're going to record it? Do you want me to hold it? Okay. Photographer. Why don't you guys just stand up here? I have 2 hands and I have to hold a microphone. You guys still need to yell, just to let you know. All right, please, for these ladies and for Jesus. All right, 3's the magic number. All right, I'm going to say, on the count of 3, just yell and scream, please. Be immature with me for a little bit. I'll yell too. 1, 2, 3. I like it. 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 Thank you guys so much. I don't think they can hear it. I just want to let you guys know that this little man right here, his face turned a shade of purple that I've never seen a human before. Yeah, you went all out for Jesus. That's what that feels like right there. Blood rushing out of your face. That was great. Huh? Come on, man. Brooke, sit down. We're not doing it again. Get it from somebody else. Okay. Back on track. Glad you guys enjoyed that. I enjoyed it too. I'm a terrible screamer. So, God's way to bring Jericho down. Walking around a bunch, scream, walls fall down. Who here would have booked that as their first option? Not me. I would not have been like, hey, there's this big city. I'm going to take a stroll. You guys still listening? I'm going to take a stroll, and then I'm just going to scream, kind of like I do in my pillow, and then the walls are just going to fall down. No, I'd have been like, guys, hope you came with your A game today. We're going to grab our swords and spears and our Clash of Clans wall breakers, and we're going to run at this. Some people loved it, some people hated it. I'm sorry, I had to do it. I had news for you guys. Okay, that's great. Joshua probably had the same idea, and when he was sitting there, he's probably like, all right, Jesus, I'm big, I'm tough, I'm muscular. What do I do? Take a stroll. God, why? Are you for real right now? And God's probably like, yeah, I am. Do it, it'll work. God's way doesn't always make sense, guys. Why my dad got burned didn't make sense for 42 years. It probably still doesn't make sense to him. I promise he's probably figured it out, but he's 50 years old now. God's way doesn't always make sense. It always works. Doesn't always make sense. Always works. We all go through a lot of hurt. We all go through good times. God has a reason for that too. But his plan always works. Jesus' crucifixion, like I hinted at earlier, I was talking with Matt Bailey about this earlier. I could see Jesus up in heaven before he came down to earth, sitting at the table with God. You know, they're just kind of like sitting at either end of the table. And I could see God. He's this big dude wearing probably a white T-shirt. And then Jesus just wearing his robe, like stroking his beard. I don't know. I don't know why he has a beard. But I could see God like walk up to the plane like, you're going to go down there. He's like, You're going to go down there. And you're going to save all these people. You're going to be born of a virgin, which is a miracle. And you're going to go around and you're going to befriend the drunkards, the dirty dudes, the scumbags, and the people that nobody like. And you're going to get 12 disciples who are fishermen and kind of viewed on as like, you know, they're kind of dumb. I've been there. And you're going to take them, they're going to be your disciples, and you're going to do life with them, and you're going to save the entire world. He's like, And then you're going to die. God, why? I have to die? Like, yep, you have to die. I could imagine Jesus. Jesus is God. Humor me for a second. But he probably went through a time where he was like, I know there's another way we can do this. I have to die? It's like, yeah, man, you got to die. Come on. Come on. I could imagine, I mean, Jesus is God. He's perfect. But I could imagine there was a split second even where he was like, I don't want to do this, y'all. But he came down, and it doesn't make sense. It's backwards, you see. Jesus, I'm sorry, I don't want to confuse you guys. God works in a very backwards sense. He came down and said, you're going to die so that everybody else can live. Good? All right. Jesus probably didn't like that, but he still went through with it. That's where his walking by faith, not by sight, comes in. Here's what I want to hit on this. God does the same thing in our life. He works in a backwards way. I can't pinpoint exact things in your life, but I can pinpoint exact things in my life. I don't really want to start sharing them all because we'd be here all night long. But we may not understand God's way all the time. It's not about what we think. It's about what God knows his plan is for us. It's about what he knows will happen. We all have a Jericho in our life, yes? We all have something standing in between us and the promised land, where God has told us we're going to be, or we think he wants us to be. That place where we see is, life is going to be great. I'm not going to have stress. I'm not going to have to worry about money. I'm not going to have to worry about that cute boy or girl. I'm not going to have to worry about life or death. But I'm 6 years old. That is the stupidest example of a Jericho. But those Jerichos, they look big. They're scary. They look immovable. There's some things where you may be somebody that is like, hey, I'm going to have a long life. I'm going to be happy. Nothing's going to hold me back. But I have cancer. God, why? Don't worry, little buddy. I have a plan. God, I'm going to have a nice job. I'm going to have a nice car. I'm going to have a lot of money. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to have you. But I don't know where I'm going to go to college. God, why? Jesus, I've always wanted a good family, a full family. But my parents divorced. God, why? He looks down on us and says, I'm sorry. I know it hurts. You don't need to understand it. You don't need to understand my plan. It's okay to question it. All you need to do is live it out by faith, and I will provide with you. Be strong and courageous. Do not be terrified, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. Don't go after the walls of Jericho in your life on your own. You go charging for that city, you're going to hit the walls hard. They don't move. Douche. Exactly. You're going to hit them, and you're going to hit them hard, and you're going to bounce back, and God's going to say, bro, I literally told you to walk around it for a reason. They don't move. And you're going to look. Hello. There we go. You're going to look really dumb, and you're going to feel really sad for a while. Jesus, what happened? Walk around the walls. That's what happened. I want to place us in this story. We're not Joshua. We're not Jesus. We're the Israelites. We were the people that just followed Joshua. And you guys remember, I'm trying to compare Joshua to Jesus. So all we need to do is follow Jesus. We don't have to be the ones to, God, what do I have to do? Lord, where am I going? Just follow him. All they did was follow what Joshua told them, and the walls fell. Joshua was like, hey, just walk behind me and then scream when I tell you to. Can you do that? Sure. Good. You have one job. Just do it. They won Jericho. Follow Jesus, and the walls will fall. It's not about you guys, and it's not about what you think you know. It's about Jesus, who he is, what he did for us, and what he knows he has for our lives. So when we're in those moments of, God, why? What is going on? What did I do? He's just going to say, do not be terrified. Be strong and courageous. I know it doesn't make sense. It does to me. Just follow me. Just follow me. I want to share another story with you guys. Do you even race? There's a story behind this. I do. I race motocross. At least I used to. Still trying. And I went down to Florida a few years ago, a long time ago, and one of my buddies came down with me. His name was, actually, it doesn't matter what his name is. And we had a bunch of golf carts down there. It was a week-long race. We were in Florida, and this place is huge. We had golf carts for a reason, because walking sucked. So we were in our golf carts. I had a golf cart, and he had a golf cart. He was like, bro, he's like 5 years older than me. He's like, dude, just follow me. I was like, all right, sweet, where are we going? So we're ripping around, like running over 6-year-old kids in our golf carts, you know, like hitting the whoop section, jumping doubles and throwing whips on our golf carts. You should be the only one that'll get that. So we're going all over the place, and here I am. I think I was like 12, so I'm like illegally driving this golf cart. It's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And we get to this part, and literally this is, dup, 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 dup. I was like, where are we? I look down, and we're in the middle of a cornfield. I don't mean just a field with corn in it. I mean like a cornfield that had like these huge like burrows in it. And this golf cart is like, ka-thunk, ka-thunk, like going through all of them. We're like still hauling around at like 15 miles an hour. That's really fast for a golf cart. I felt like I was going to come out of there with a concussion from the top and a compressed spine. It was terrible. And we're going through, my golf cart dies. Like, what the heck? It's like 10 o'clock at night. It's pitch black outside. And I was like, Josh! I told you guys I wasn't going to tell you his name. Crap. He's like, what? He's like, come here. Not moving. It's like, okay. So we're yelling. We're in this farmer's field. Pitch black outside. All I hear is ka-thunk, 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 ka-thunk. He's coming back to me. And we, like, lifted up the seat. We're looking down. Pitch black. We couldn't see anything. He's like, all right, just, we'll have to figure it out. And I'm not kidding you. This sounds like it's from a movie, but this is what we hear. Bro, did you just fart? No. Hey! Oh, no. See a light flick on in the farmer's house. We're like, what do we do, man? I'm like 12 years old. The worst trouble I've been in is like not praying before I eat at the dinner table. And I was like, I'm about to die. Like, God, why? Why in a cornfield in Florida? I don't even live here. She's like, hop in, we'll leave. And he shuts the light off on the golf cart. Worst idea ever. And ka-thunk, 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 ka-thunk. I was like, oh my gosh, where are we? We get back to the rig where we were parked at. It's actually Thanksgiving Day, so we like sit down to a really late Thanksgiving dinner, which nobody ever does. You always eat at like 1 in the afternoon. So we sit down, and my parents are like, oh, how are you? I was like, I'm good. Everything's normal. So I'm like looking at him all dinner. I'm like, dude, what are we going to do? That golf cart's still out there. So like we scarfed down our food like as fast as we could. We were like, thanks, guys. Thanks, Mom and Dad. We're stuffed. Yep. Mm-hmm. Really, we're still starving. We had like 4 bites to eat and just left. And we go back, and all we had was a screwdriver. So we lift that seat up of the golf cart and shove it in there to make sure that we did something, and it started running. So he just pushes me out of the cornfield, ka-thunk, 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 the whole way back. And I thought I was going to die. I was 12 years old. I could have ended right there, man. That farmer was scary, dude. I don't even know. But that's my one story about following people. It's funny, yes. Scary. Laugh at my pain. Kevin Hart. Anybody catch that? No, okay. This is where I just want to say, be careful who you follow, because you might end up at shotgun point in a cornfield in Florida. Maybe not. You might end up somewhere else. The heck was that? The shotgun? That was good. That was good. So be careful who you follow. Follow Jesus. Don't follow yourself. And don't follow your friend who says, hey, dude, this is fun. Follow me. Because all of us will be like, all right, man, I'm coming. It's all about Jesus. It's all about his plan. We don't have to understand it. We just have to live it and have faith. Have faith, follow Jesus, and you'll be golden. Stay golden, pony boy. That's all I got, guys. Thank you.
Awesome. Hey, can we do this? Can we end with this? I know we did some singing in the beginning. Can we end with just some worship and prayer real fast? These guys are going to come back up. If you guys don't mind, would you mind standing?